This episode of XIV Reborn is brought to you by Shutterstock. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 25% off your brand new account, go on over to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER9. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of XIV Reborn, the Final Fantasy XIV show for September 3rd, 2013. I'm Gary Gannon, and you're watching GameBreaker TV or XIV Nation, whatever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want. This week, fixes go in tonight. Will they work? A week after launch, we answer some content questions. Square backtracks on some previous stances, and Yoshi-P has a lot to say at PAX. But first, joining us for some XIV chat, as always, you know him as Mr. Happy. It's Michael Poveromo. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How about you, Gary?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Glad to be here. It's a fun show. It's Tuesday. I love it, love it, love it. Always fun. And of course, from all the sites, GameBreaker TV, free-to-play.tv, and of course, XIV Nation. It's Michael Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. How are you, sir?
Fantastic, Mr. Gannon, yourself?
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
It's like New Year's Eve. We're rocking it in with Gary Gannon here. 53 minutes to go before maintenance gets started.
And oh my God, can it please happen, please? Yes,
Please.
So like not long after this show recording live ends, maintenance is scheduled to kick in. Thank God. Thank God. We kind of had a bit of a downer show last week. We let loose with a bunch of talk, about all the errors and login issues. So let's do that again for an hour.
No!
Oh, no, I'm kidding.
2 minutes.
Mr. Happy.
He's like, I need 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. I can get it all. I've been hanging, holding all this anger. I can get it all out in 2. Judging by the internet and the forums, everybody knows the issues continued throughout the entire weekend. Weekend traffic and holiday, I think, even made it worse this holiday weekend. That being said, a fix is on the way, so hopefully this will help everybody out and get you past those 1017 and now the due 2002 error. I have not played pretty much at all. I sat yesterday literally trying to log in for 3-4 hours. Kind of took the day off, just kept trying to log in and didn't happen. So, yeah. All right, P, 2 minutes.
Not right now. No. It's got a place, but it's not there yet.
Oh.
I have a place to talk about.
You got a place to talk about.
He went through the show notes and was like, no. Oh, here it is.
Perfect placement.
Right here.
All right.
Right here is when I'm going to say something.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
it sucked.
We did talk. It
all
sucked.
those people, but
we also know we talked about last week about how it takes a little time to get servers built and things like that. They don't just can drop out of the sky. So today's the day. According to Yoshi-P on the forums, the work part of this was actually completed earlier this weekend. So what's all going on here right now? Are they giving us any information of like what's happening now?
Well, Saturday we had a forum post confirm that the servers were purchased. They were built. In other words, all the necessary stuff was built into them, and they were brought online, not for players, but for back-end testing. They were going to complete that testing through Saturday, Sunday, and then into Monday. And they were going to implement them Wednesday, Japan time, tonight, into tomorrow, our time here in the U.S. Now, they will be adding worlds to Japan and NAEU data centers, but that's not the only fixes they're implementing, because you brought it up last week, and Yoshi-P agrees with you. It's not just server space that was the issue. There were some things with the duty finder being optimized and being given some performance enhancements to manage more people. So not just new worlds, maintenance all the way around architecture-wise.
Did they get into any more of these sort of specifics on that besides just saying the duty finder? I mean, because it's an acknowledgement right there, just saying that, hey, it's not servers alone. With that's not the only thing we need. So Any other insights?
Yeah, I mean, he in his post he broke down exactly what one of the problems was with the duty finder being hit with too many people from too many sources. The way he broke it down in a nutshell was that if the duty finder is one thing and the Japanese servers and the NAEU are two separate items, then the duty finder is stuck trying to prong from only two sources. Where if they break those apart into smaller architecture nodes in their back end, it'll parse the data a little bit better and send multiple sources to the duty finder. Technical explanation for let's spread everybody around a little bit more and put some more doors between the worlds and the duty finder is the short version of that.
I like your short version.
Right. Put some more doors there, let some more people in, have fun.
Another issue being brought up everywhere you turn here is the issue of players going AFK forever and ever and ever and not logging out. This is obviously an issue. So if you're getting in, and I gotta admit, if I got in, I wasn't gonna leave, but I didn't even get in. Yoshi-P addressed this when talking about the fixes being installed and said, from several users on some of our more congested worlds, we have received requests for a feature which automatically logs out characters who are AFK for an extended period of time. We are actively looking into the implementation of such a feature, but have decided to first concentrate our efforts on increasing the number of worlds and optimizing the Duty Finder servers. What do you think? Good idea? Bad idea?
Mr. Happy, you can have this. I just want to say something about the beginning of that.
Is it about the word request?
Requests and some of our more congested worlds, as if there were some that weren't. we're only hearing this about from the congested worlds, not the ones that aren't congested and you can readily get into. It's all yours, sir.
Said no one.
Right, said no one ever.
I think it's all right for them to first try and implement this, because if they're working on two things at the same time, then they might do one worse than the other. For all you know, you could just be sitting in town having a conversation with your friend and get booted with their AFK timers. Square Enix would probably make it about 45 seconds, knowing them. And please show burn. Please show.
45 seconds. Come on, give him a little more faith than that. Oh, jeez.
No, but it's good that they're working on implementing one system very well instead of doing two systems sort of half and half. So let's see how this goes. Honestly, they'll probably still end up needing to do it with the kind of traffic they're generating, but I'll reserve judgment whether or not it's a good idea or bad idea.
When you log in, don't go pee. You'll get kicked.
Have they given any reason as to why they do not want to, like, they seem almost very against, like, putting this, like, you know, AFK logout system in, and, like, I almost got to wonder what's the reason for that. It's not like you have, like, in-game live shops or something like that. I mean, I see people on the forums
That's
are like,
actually why it's not there.
Right.
Because version 1 did have that. Now, why they haven't put it in now, I think it's twofold. One, I honestly think Yoshi-P and Square Enix believe that what they're doing with the back-end architecture tonight will far counterbalance what is going on with the AFK, and so it may not even be something they need to address.
But what is the reason to not have that implemented? Like, is it just...
There is no good reason.
The only one I can come up with the chat room actually came up with it. I'm stealing it from somebody there. Good point. Is are they just trying to break all the concurrent records and just want press out of it? Like, if you know, they would have ridiculous numbers of people logged in at any given time. They're all AFK. I just can't think of a real reason why you would want to allow that. I mean, it's got to cost them, even though you're not doing anything, there's got to be bandwidth, right? There's got to be, there's packets being sent back and forth. You're not even playing the game. It's causing server load to some extent, no matter, like, I'm trying to find what could possibly be a reason that they would want to let you stay in the world 24/7.
I don't know. 11 had it as an optional thing. 14 was optional, because I remember in 14 I've AFK'd overnight for sure in 1.0.
Right.
And now it's not an option at all.
And in 11 it made sense for people that were very big into Bazaar.
Right.
Yeah, you know, same with 14
to be able to knock the AFK down, and 1.0 is the same thing. To me, there is no real good reason why it's not there, besides Yoshi-P's reluctance to introduce anything in the game that he thinks might cause less enjoyment or access for any single person.
I'm I'm wondering if there's
he's gone
something
on record saying as much, not in relationship to the AFK kick thing, but he doesn't want to implement anything that he thinks might impact somebody's enjoyment of the game.
I mean, I wonder if there.
There's no good reason.
Exactly. I saw somebody in here, and I'm wondering if it's something more to do with Japanese culture than anything, and that's why we don't understand it. Like, I'm wondering if they play a different way or do something. I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, do people like want to log in and stay logged in all the time? I mean, do they have like remote? Like, I have like go to my PC and stuff like on my phone. Like, do they literally maybe like at the bus stop remote into their machines to like stay and chat and use the? I don't. It's very possible. I mean, it's very possible that goes on. I don't know.
I don't think it goes on to that extent. If there's nothing to do in the game when you're AFK, then it doesn't matter what kind of technology you use. If you want to talk to your friends in Ventrilo or Mumble, you could put that on your phone, but you don't need to be logged in for that. I don't think it's a cultural difference. I think what Mr. Byrne here said was right. It's just Yoshi-P's reluctance to put anything that would be considered a not fun aspect in. I
would love to know. There's got to be there's got to be some Japanese players out there from Japan watching the show. I'd love you to leave a comment and maybe explain this to us, because maybe if there is a cultural difference, I don't know, because I just think it may be something that we're like overlooking here. I'd love to find out if that's the case.
I'm on his side, though. I mean, yes, I personally think there should be an AFK kick thing in there with the option to shut it off if I want to. But I'm kind of on Yoshi-P's side here. There really is no good reason for it except for what happened here. If the servers had been able to bear the load, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
No, you're right. You're right.
Notice it,
you're right, but I'm just wondering why it's being such a point. Like, I mean, even if everything starts running smoothly after these upgrades, after this thing, I still trying to understand like why it wouldn't be there. It seems like an obvious thing to me, but
it's rude.
It's rude. Totally rude.
I find it rude, Gary.
Well, that's what a lot of people think, right? Because
don't kick me when I go pee.
But a lot of people a lot of people are getting really angry that all these people are logging in and staying in. I mean. Byrne, you've been one of the nice ones. You've actually been logging out pretty considerably.
You deserve a medal.
He does.
Because I'm dumb. I'm not a very bright guy, apparently. Hey, you know what? At least, Mr. Happy, this has taken the pressure off Legacy, right? Now everybody can just hate AFKers instead of the legacy non-legacy stuff that was going on.
It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't save that conversation at all. I can't post a single video to YouTube without somebody looking in the bottom right corner and seeing how much money I have.
Oh, see, I'm not even going to say anything because I kind of did that this afternoon. Just getting a gauge on my progress when you put out your video this afternoon on the relic weapons. I was eyeing your guild count.
I knew it, and you hate me.
I do a little bit.
It's lower now than it was. I spent a lot of it.
There's a lot of hate.
There's a lot of hate.
There's a lot of hate out there, Gary.
Which I can understand why, but at the same time, I don't blame them for not logging out.
Exactly. I stay out of this one. I can understand you being mad that they're logged in, and I can understand them not wanting to leave. So I just kind of do my little courteous, stupid thing, and if I need 10 minutes to type an article real quick for XIV Nation, I'll stay logged in for that. If I'm going to go out to eat with the family or come and do this show or Twimo or whatever, I log out. It's just the courteous thing, and I can't bring myself not to do it. So, but I don't blame AFKers for what they're doing, but I also don't blame them getting a little bit of hate from people that don't like that they're doing it. 50-50 both sides of the fence for me.
What do you think, P? You think people should be logging out and doing the courteous thing, or no way?
I'm sorry, but I think everyone should be, myself included. But this is, and I'll use one of my 2 minutes here. I'll use one of my 2 minutes. We've had people do that, the courteous thing, and not get in for 12 hours trying straight. There's not much more to say. I only needed 10 seconds.
You only needed 10 seconds for that. I thought you wanted a minute. Yeah, no, I haven't been able to play almost at all. Like, literally. I mean, for a good, I'd say yesterday on a holiday, I spent a good hour or two while I was working, constantly logging in. Like, nonstop. Literally. Just nonstop. Click, 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 click. For about 2 hours. Then I was like, screw this. And I like started playing Saints Row, and then would periodically go back. Like, I'd play for 10, 15 minutes, and then I'd go click. like for 2, and then I'd play Saints Row and I'd click for 2, and I kind of like balanced it out. But it just went on for hours. I have not been able to play like at all. I don't know. Before we move on, are we still going to see some of these restrictions come Wednesday morning U.S. time?
Yeah,
we can.
For a few hours
sure.
at least. For a few hours at least. The first few hours is intentional. They're going to ease the servers back up and let a crowd in, cut it off, let a crowd in, cut it off, let a crowd in, cut it off, and keep increasing the population. The last thing that they can afford to do here is open up the floodgates and just have it get DDoSed all over the place and shuts all down again. So they're going to do the right thing, I think, and ease it into production. And then hopefully within a few hours we should start seeing those character creation things and those types of limitations taken off of Worlds if everything works. But expect restrictions for at least the first few hours come 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Yes, everybody's just going to be hammering the servers. So expect more delays, and we can expect more hate. Any word on server transfers besides the previous
6 a.m. by the way?
Eastern, 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Eastern.
6
okay.
a.m. Eastern.
Any word on server transfers beside the previous, like, available mid-September sort of update? Did Yoshi-P mention any of that in the in an interview?
Yes, he did.
It
was
two conflicting answers.
Yeah.
The website has the mid-September thing still, the forums. Yoshi-P told massively... No, Yoshi-P told MMORPG mid-September-ish, but then told massively a couple of months.
Really?
So there's different stories all over the place. Going into PAX, it was mid-September. That was the official post on the forums that everybody was looking towards, and then there's different words reported by different media outlets coming out of PAX. So who knows?
What's your guess? You think they're going to try and get it out a little bit earlier with all the issues going on? I think they're going to try and get this out as... No? I think that they will.
I do.
I do.
Especially because so many people have made characters on other worlds because they couldn't play. They want to keep those characters, so it'd be kind of weird if they stayed on other servers for that long. Yeah,
I think they're going to try and do right with this one. I would be fast-tracking this along with all these server... fixes and more worlds. I would be fast tracking this because there's a lot of people upset right now.
I'm taking bets right now. I will take bets.
You want to take bets?
I don't think this happens till October.
It is already the beginning of September. You could be right.
Saturday.
That gives you a month on previously proposed dates that would be about 2 weeks from now. So I'm giving you the extra 2 weeks and giving you the full month of September if you want to take it. I'm going to say beginning of October is the earliest that we see transfers enabled.
All right, Pete, where are you going with? He's going early October. What are you saying?
I'll go the Gary Gannon way and say Saturday.
You're just going to go right. Saturday.
Because then Gary's like, oh, I'm right. Gary, you were a full week early. Doesn't matter. I said Saturday. It happened on a Saturday.
I'll go with September 15th.
So you're right in the middle.
Right in the middle. They said mid. I'm going to go with mid. That's been a statement. So we've not heard October. So you should be completely wrong.
Should be.
Should be. And I never heard the word Saturday come out of his mouth either. I don't know. I think there's a lot of players right now who are kind of stuck, and I think that they know this. And right now, the last thing they sort of need to do is kind of like keep players in limbo. So they fix all the server issues, and everybody's able to log in and play. You're still going to have a whole bunch of players like, okay, now I can play, but I want to go play with my friends. And that's why I think that this is sort of another thing that they probably need to fast track and just get these server transfers implemented really quickly. Who knows? I don't know.
There's chat that is projecting that even my October estimate is generous.
We shall see.
They're saying 2-3 months from now at best. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think we're looking at a Q1 2014 type thing, but I don't think it's September.
All right, I want to talk about the game itself now that we got all that stuff out of the way. But first, I want to tell you guys about Shutterstock. That's right, Shutterstock.com, one of the sponsors here on XIV Reborn. So glad to have these guys on as sponsors. And if you want to make a new account, you make sure to use offer code GameBreaker9 to save you 25% off on your new account. Shutterstock has stock photography, stock footage, all kinds of vector artwork. We launched a new show here, or actually I should say a pilot of a show that is turning into a show, which I'm very, very happy about. It is called Comments with Coltrane. It is one of our hosts reading YouTube comments that we get here on the Game Breaker Nation. And I was looking for an image, a proper image. Well, first let me just play a little bit of it so you can get a feel for it.
Ooh. Yes. This is Coltrane. And it's time to read some YouTube comments that'll make you wanna vomit. Wow, Gary. Could you crank up the douchebag dial a little more? Hey Mike, stop using speed. Lol. The top two are facts. Go have sex with World of Warcraft. Fuckers.
So that is a new show, which we are working on, called, let me rewind this, Coltrane's Comments. It's up on Game Breaker TV. Check it out. I know a lot of you said, it's too short, it's amazing, but it's too short. Yes, it will be longer. We're working on it. But, so I needed to figure out what this show looked like. And I don't know why, but it ended up looking like this. She's just in such deep thought. Deep thought.
I don't think chat can hear it when you played it there, but there is a fireplace sound effect in the background through that entire video.
Oh, it's, yeah, we use stock footage.
It's just amazing.
We use stock footage of a fireplace as well. It's Shutterstock. We all use Shutterstock for this.
Yeah.
Image, everything.
This is Coltrane. And it's time to read some YouTube comments that'll make you wanna vomit.
What is this, Christmas? A Yule log?
Wow, Gary. Could you crank up the douchebag dial a little more?
Doesn't it make it? It's perfect.
It's perfect.
You actually nailed it right on the head, Burn, with what I was going for. Deep thoughts with Jack Henry. Yeah, so
it's very deep thoughts.
It's very deep thoughts from SNL. But so I immediately, we want to do the show, and I immediately need some assets. I went right to Shutterstock, and here's some of the options. I was gonna go with this cheeseburger first. I wasn't sure why, but I just thought it was funny. But it wasn't that funny. But that was an option. This cheeseburger by the fire. It doesn't have to make sense to be funny, Burn. Burn's like, why a cheeseburger?
Like it's funny in that WTF, why did they use a cheeseburger way?
Not sure. Then there was here was an option, just some feet by the fire. Just cozying up, listening to some Coltrane. This one I found. This was the first image I found. A little too much shoulder, I think.
Not enough fireplace.
But not enough fireplace. But then this one just nailed it. It was like deep thoughts. I'm just thinking about Coltrane's voice. So again, just a funny comedic way. You're using Shutterstock. There's tons of great photography on here for all different things. Whether it's going to be funny and you use it for like some weird, wacky juxtaposition like we did, because you take that image, you could use that for something completely serious and it would work. But it worked for comedy as well for Coltrane's comments. So that's just one of the ways we use Shutterstock all the time. So head on over, go to Shutterstock.com. You can make an account. You make a free account and start looking through pictures and sorting them and use them for your YouTube videos and stuff. That's the great thing about it too. You don't want to just like rip images off of websites or Google or something. I mean, there's somebody who shot that photography. All of the images through Shutterstock, grant you a license to use these images in your work. So that's the whole point of it. So whether you need photos, illustrations, vector artwork, logo stuff, or moving footage, check it out. Go to Shutterstock.com, make an account today, start checking everything out. And they have a couple different ways you can buy image packs. So if you just need some individual images, we have a monthly account where we can download like 25 things a day, I believe, on our account. So we use it a lot. But there's multiple pricing options there for you. And if you use promo code GameBreaker9, going to save you guys 25% off just by using that offer code. So go check it out today at Shutterstock.com. All right, so now that we're caught up all on the issues for the game, let's move on. I want to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the game. Don't worry, chat. We're not going to drop any spoilers about the story. In fact, I mean, we gave our opinions on the story so far last week's show, so check that out if you want a spoiler-free story run through so far. There were a ton of questions going into launch about whether or not the game would have this or have that, or but now that we've been playing, let's revisit some of the questions that we got early on. People trying to speculate and figure everything out. So I know it may seem backwards to start at the end, but a huge question going into launch was, of course, every MMO player usually asks this question at some point: is does the game have any end game?
Yes.
Well, I don't get to play, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm 42. P, this is all you, man.
Yes.
I'm just gonna sit back and listen.
Like, it was a simple yes or no question, and yes, it does have an end game. Gary, what else? Come on, you got to give me more than that. You got to ask me more specific questions.
I don't want to spoil it. Is it good?
It's good. It's very good. I got
here's a question about it. Is it doing things consistently over and over, or does it seem like there's a pretty good amount of stuff to do at endgame there's a diverse? Like, have you seen everything, or there's still stuff you haven't even gotten to see?
I have not gotten to see everything yet. It's very vertical in its sense of progression, although it seems they're going to expand it horizontally as well, which is more. It's sort of like a mix between Final Fantasy XI and 14. You have different roads you can go to get gear in a horizontal manner, but you're only getting that gear to get to the next upward tier vertically. So there is a lot to do. It's just a matter of finding the people to do it with.
Well, not many people can log in right now. So you posted some videos this week that showed off some of the 50 content. So we got to see the Odin Fate. What's the deal there? It looked really impressive.
Well, I have a good thing and a bad thing to say about the Odin Fate, as well as the Behemoth Fate, which is something I could not get a real video of, and you'll know why in a second. The Odin Fate's actually pretty good. There are mechanics in it. You do have to dodge certain attacks. It is good to have a tank and some healers that are dedicated to it. You do have to focus target down some additional ads. You do get a lot of debuffs on you, and he really makes you fight for it. And then in classic Final Fantasy, just classic Odin in Final Fantasy style, at the very end, if you don't get him down quick enough, your screen gets sliced in half, you fail, and everybody in the area dies.
Nice.
So that was a lot of fun.
Did anyone beat him? I mean, all we saw were a bunch of tweets, so we lost tweets from basically different servers.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. When people see a giant red circle, they're inclined in this game to run. But an Odin, Zantetsuskin, which is the move that will one-shot you if you don't kill him quick enough at the end, does a giant red circle. So what ends up happening is a bunch of groups decide to run away and then say, oh, wait, maybe we need to kill him really quick and run back in. And I think that caught a lot of people off guard when the first spawns all seemed to happen simultaneously across all the servers. So that caused the failure the first time, but now that he spawned a second time for most servers, it seems everybody got him down pack. People were saving their limit breaks for the end and things like that, just to make sure they killed him.
How much of this type of end game high level fake super rare fake content is there that takes forever? Is there a lot of this going on at that level?
There's two fates right now that are kind of like that, Behemoth and Odin, and we're assuming that the Lightning Fate, which will be coming at some point, we're assuming it'll be along those lines. But there's not too much of it. It's kind of just, oh, you heard it was up, so you went to go get it, because these things seem to have between a 2 or 3 day respawn timer. Mm-hmm. So,
and completely random, right?
We don't know that, and people haven't had enough time to really dissect all of the spawns. We need a bigger pool of what's the word I'm looking for? Of
analytical data.
We need more data to decide if there's a pattern to it yet. But I will say one thing with these fates. There is one problem with them. It seems Square Enix forgot to prioritize the models of the bosses over the models of the characters. So you know how you can only load so many characters on your screen?
Mm-hmm.
If there's too many people
They
around,
disappear?
the bosses disappear and it's hard to get credit.
Is that happening a lot?
Yeah.
And it's not just restricted to that 50 stuff. I mean, in 30s, you're farming Svara Fate, a big dragon, which usually happens whatever 45 minutes or so, and constantly it's being farmed every single time it pops. And it's one of those that there's so many people there that if the tanks move Svara in any direction, there's a good chance they'll blink out of existence for you until you reposition yourself to get some more models behind you and put less in front of you to get the dragon to pop. It's not restricted to just high level. There's a priority problem.
That makes for some awesome video, P. That's the people want to watch the invisible
Odin.
Odin.
Somebody might be seeing later this week on another Final Fantasy show.
Maybe. Invisible Odin. So how are the rewards for some of these more involved fates?
Mostly aesthetic, really. They're really cool aesthetics, and they do give you stats, but you can easily get gear that's better than them from other sources. Like, from Odin, if you can buy his armor and look exactly like him and glow dark and everything, you can get a barding for your chocobo that makes it look like his horse. Behemoth, you can get like a behemoth helmet, you can get things like that. They're all item level 50, so they're kind of like just like brand new level 50 items, and they're not bad by any means, but they're easily replaced. So it's really just
how long are these lasting? How long are these fates lasting?
Odin probably lasts maybe 15-20 minutes maximum, and Behemoth is a 2 or 3 parter. I always get there kind of late, so I've only seen 2 parts. So that takes, with him disappearing at least, takes about an hour. I'd imagine if somebody held him still and he was there the entire time, he would die a lot quicker.
Gary, you remember Guild Wars 2 launch, right?
Mm-hmm.
These things are getting zerged fierce.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now.
I am sure.
I mean, it's Guild Wars 2 zerking all over again, and it's just, come on, work this out. This is one of those little fixes that, okay, you didn't have the data going into this, now you have the data. And Happy and I were talking before the show. These are the small things that are really easy fixes in the grand scheme. Let's just reprioritize the model render, no big deal. We already have it there, let's just put it in a different order. But these are the small things that the first week of launch is usually used to address real quick and put a hot fix on a couple of these.
They've got other stuff to work on.
But they haven't had a chance to because of all the other server stuff. So it's sad to see them persisting. They've got to be rectified. That, and we're going to talk about dungeons later. There's one in there that I'm a big not fan of. So yeah, unfortunately, some of these need to be addressed fast.
And P, you also dropped a video on a hard mode primal. How'd that fight go?
That fight was pretty well done. It was a lot of times a fight in MMOs will be one of 3 things. It'll be a tank check, a DPS check, or a healing check. And the one I dropped, Titan, actually was all 3 of them, and about evenly as well. So it was also a very mechanical fight, having to dodge a lot of things and needing very precise positioning to ensure that you didn't die. It was definitely a well-done fight, and I can say going forward that the fights only get better than that. That's
good to hear. All right, so give us like a down and dirty list here. Yeah, what can everybody expect at level 50 looking forward to instance or primal wise? I mean, do they all have hard modes available already at this point?
Well, dungeons don't really have hard modes yet. Yoshi-P is waiting to implement those till the next patch. He said, I believe he said he has 2 of them planned for the next patch, and that's because he doesn't want to do your traditional, oh, this is just a harder version of the same dungeon, more health, more damage, everything. He wants to make hard mode dungeons sort of feel unique and not be the same environment necessarily or the same enemies. So we don't have any of those yet, but we do have a few level 50 dungeons and a few level 50-ish dungeons, such as the Orm Vale and the Zamiel Darkhold. They're like upper 40s kind of level. You have the Wanderer's Palace, which is a Tonberry dungeon, so any of you Final Fantasy fans out there, you will love Wanderer's Palace. It's a great dungeon. You have Amphidoor Keep, which some Final Fantasy XI players will really enjoy for sure. That's a step up from Wanderer's Palace. Then you have hard mode Ifrit, hard mode Garuda, and hard mode Titan. After that, you have 5 turns of the Binding Coils of Bahamut. And those work more like a traditional raid, it seems, where progress gets locked, sort of, with the week. And other than that, you sort of just, then you have like your things like, you know, getting pentameld on stuff and things like that. You have crafting, you have gathering, you have leveling your other jobs, you have sort of exploring other aspects of the game. But by no means is this progression a quick progress. It is a long and arduous progress.
Yeah, I just want to mention really quick too, some of the encounters that you're talking about. We've got some dungeon guides up on XIV Nation for some of them, not all of them yet, but they're getting there. People are starting to start to get these in. Like there's a hard mode Garuda guide right there. You check that out. Definitely check that out. Something else I want to ask about. So, well, actually, before I get to that, without mentioning other MMOs specifically, how do you feel like just sort of the raid encounters are in general compared to other MMOs? Like their mechanics of them, like do they play out really well? You know, are they on par with some of the top games that like, you know, hardcore raiders are really into?
Yeah, I think considering you're only going into these things with 8 people currently, they're very well tuned. They make you really think about the 8 people that you're going to be going, well, the 7 people you're going to be going in with. The mechanics are there. They're not always easy. In fact, they're never easy, really. Some of the earlier primals.
Do they feel really diverse though in their mechanics, or are they just difficult on the number of hit points and the burn? Like, is it just that they're like stacked so they're really like take forever, or is it like, you know, they actually have all kinds of phases and different cool things happen and you actually have to figure them out?
There's plenty of different phases in pretty much every fight. Sometimes the phases are little. They're minor differences. I can use Ampedor Keep as an example. The last boss, he starts with just a breath attack and a tail attack. Then he does a big attack. Then he introduces adds. Then he does another big attack. Then he introduces adds and a pulsing AoE. And if you keep letting it go on, and then at that point you have to finish him before it's over. So it sort of introduces them slowly and then enhances the mechanics as they were in the previous phases. So a mechanic that was in phase 1 usually becomes progressively more of a problem as you move through the later phases as well, on top of introducing new mechanics.
All right, so one more question on gear here. So I know the word legendary is from World of Warcraft, obviously, but I keep hearing like things like artifact, relic, all these other names for 14. Break some of this down for me. What's going on here?
All right, well, artifact is a term that really comes from Final Fantasy XI. People who played that game are definitely familiar with the term. And it usually just refers to a set of gear that is designated for your job. It's usually considered starter gear, almost, for when you hit a certain level threshold, and in this game, it's 50. So it's just a starter gear for endgame, I guess you could really say. And then relic it refers to a single weapon for each job, similar to the artifact, except this is considered more along the lines of the ultimate weapon. And you have to go through pretty much all the level 50 content, almost all of it, up to a point at least, in order to gain access to this weapon. So you definitely need a good group of friends to get it. You definitely need some persistence, a little bit of time, and this weapon will hold you over pretty much until they raise the level cap or they start introducing higher item levels. And even then, you might be able to upgrade them further.
How long do these take to get? Do they take a while to get?
I think it depends. Legacy players, sort of. Some legacy players, I wasn't expecting that. Some legacy players obviously had progress with them already from 1.0 that was carried over. Some, like myself, actually had to start over entirely because the steps we did have done weren't in the game anymore. But if you're persistent, you can really get a large chunk of it down in a day if you already have some decent gear and a good group of friends. You just might have to learn a few things, maybe look up some guides, figure out how to do the boss fights, and you should be all right. I'd say the biggest thing holding people back would probably be Titan.
Burn, you're kind of coming at this game from like more like a new player, kind of like the same side as a new player would. And you were a 1.0 player, but you didn't keep any of that, right?
No, because I played 1.0, and then when I stopped, it was more, I'm going to keep poking my head in for every update just to take a look and see how things are progressing and if this is playable, but not to invest any time in it. So no, I didn't end up keeping any characters. They're still sitting there when I log in, but I haven't touched them since 1.0. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of the exact opposite of Mr. Happy here, coming at it from a brand new player.
Well, let's talk about leveling your first class then, because I mean, again, I'm still pretty low level, but I've had an interesting experience of how this whole started out in my first initial, time in the game, and then it actually shifted for me. So, I mean, for myself, I really enjoy the story quests, and I really felt that was what was kind of moving me forward. I kind of really didn't despised all the filler side quest content. I was getting frustrated with it. I was doing all of them. But it was, it's just filler. It's just grinding filler. It's basically, to me, it was like a timing, gating for time. And then, I was told, hey, don't do them. Just go do the story quests and just like go on that path. And I've been enjoying the game so much more, just bypassing all of that other filler content. And I'm pretty much staying on.
There were times in Mumble last week where you were like, man, I really got to do it. I don't want to do this. I want to play Final Fantasy. I have work to do, and I really just don't want to do it. I want to play Final Fantasy, and I'm like, yes, Ganon is hooked.
Well, I feel like what they did with the storyline quests, is I said this in the show earlier today, was they actually remembered the RPG and MMORPG. Like, they finally remembered that it is a role-playing game, and the storyline aspect of it really helps to kind of like sell that for me. But again, I don't really love I don't love all the trash quests. I got to be honest. I don't love all the
run back.
And the same guy, go upstairs, go downstairs, go upstairs, go downstairs. Like when you're in Limson, you're just like, hey, deliver this. It's like, it's just, I get it. I get why it's there. You're just trying to stall me basically. I don't know, but how's your leveling been for first class?
Good. Black Mage, opened that up. Now I'm at 42. Now see, I'm doing things a little differently than you because I have plans besides the storyline. So there's certain things that I'm doing or not doing that you would just totally ignore. Like I am doing some of that side stuff to fill up different experience bars, and there's like 900 things that I'm doing just to keep everything balanced as I'm leveling with all these other classes and your brand company and your chocobo. And yeah, I'm doing things a little differently, but I'm loving it. 42 Black Mage right now, headed into the final stretch of the story. And there have been a few moments that you just look at the screen, this is fantastic. I'm awesome. This is great. So
what's going to happen to me at what level am I going to sort of find that I have to sort of start doing? There's two things I'm wondering. I'm wondering what level I'm going to have to start doing more side quests and sort of, I'll call it filler content. And B, when do I really have to start making sure also that I'm not missing anything? Because I know there's quests that people aren't going to. So if you take my route and you want to kind of go the story route, I think from what I hear, you're actually going to miss a couple of quests that are kind of important, including things like the die system, your chocobo, like mounts, things like that. Those are kind of considered side quests, right?
Yeah, you'll probably have no problem getting your chocobo. That's a side quest, but it's so close to the story, and when you pick your grand company, that one's hard to miss. But a lot of people are missing their level 30 quest to be able to summon their chocobo as a combat partner. A lot of people are missing that because that's kind of off to the side in Camp Tranquil. A lot of people are missing one or two dungeon quests like Halatali and Sunken Temple. To get those quests to open them up in your duty finder, those are the first two dungeons that aren't part of your main story progression. They're little offshoots that you have to get there. You're probably going to start doing either some fate grinding, which is incredibly fast leveling right now, or some filler quests right around the beginning of your 30s, Gary. That's when you're going to need to start supplementing the main story stuff with some extra experience. It's just not going to be enough at that point.
So then what are you all talking about so people understand out there who maybe can't get in or waiting? You're talking about like kind of keeping track and staying caught up on like 5 different things.
Yes.
What are these things?
So I am leveling my Black Mage right now, which if you have not gotten a job, and you might have some questions, there's still some of those out there, I had to get Thaumaturge and Archer to 30 and 15, respectively, to become a Black Mage, which gives you a crystal, you equip it, boom, you're a Black Mage. As you level that job, your primary class that you needed also levels. So it's not like Thaumaturge sits there at 30 while you go and do your Black Mage thing. Your Black Mage starts at 30, and the two gain levels at the same pace. So you've got some classes and stuff like that going. Then I've got my Grand Company seals and promotions that I've got to keep up with as well. Not to mention that in addition to those Grand Company promotions, I also have to keep my Grand Company hunting log up to date. Otherwise, I won't be eligible for some of those promotions that the seals get me in the Grand Company. At the same time, I'm trying to level up my Chocobo as a battle partner who can rank from 1 through 10, but also needs experience. So he siphons a little bit of experience away from me when I have him out. He levels very slowly. So I'm leveling like 9 different things here at once, having a blast doing it, but there's an awful lot to keep up with, and that doesn't even count my class hunting log itself.
God, sounds like I am doing it wrong.
Well, you're doing it right for what your long-term goal is, which is to watch the damn story.
Yes.
You want to see the story.
I'm sure.
So you're doing it right for that. I'm doing it more for long-term. I want everything leveled type even progression.
Yeah, I'm going to end up probably going back and doing more stuff at a later time. And from what I hear for a lot of people out there, this move of kind of avoiding a lot of the side quests and leave quests and things like that is actually a pretty good idea, because you could leave those for your second class. So when you go back, you actually have some stuff to do. Because if you burn through all of that your first time around, when you go back for your second class, you're basically just grinding.
Yeah, but Fate's going to get your fate grinding in now, because I have a feeling that that's going to get nerfed soon. Yeah, oh yeah. We're going to talk about that on another show, too, this week.
Wonder what that shows.
Little teases for Cat.
Well, did we show everybody this show? Has everybody, have you guys seen Waypoint? We have another Final Fantasy show on XIV Nation. We have 2 shows about Final Fantasy XIV. It's called Waypoint. Here, I'll play it real quick. A little bit.
On this week's Waypoint, Early Access has some challenges, advertising budgets must have been huge, and Yoshi-P gets sentimental. What's up, guys, and welcome to Waypoint, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV recap for August 30th, 2013. I'm your host, Kat Andrusko.
So I'm not going to play the whole thing here, but
Collector's Edition.
This is more like a quick weekly news recap. I mean, I think that episode comes in about 5.5 minutes, and that comes out weekly as well. So make sure you look for that. It's called Waypoint. It's on xivnation.com. Definitely check that out to keep you up on the quick news, little tidbit there. Back to you, P. I want to ask you some questions. So another big question that we heard a lot before game launch was, through the beta phases was most people only got to level to 20. Everybody wanted to know, does the game get harder? Does the game become party based like Final Fantasy XI at any point? So do you have any answers for people at this point?
Let's just say this: everything I said before is party based, other than the fates, but I guess that's still group based, and there were events like that in 11 too, where there's just a bunch of people rushing to kill stuff. It does get progressively harder. Even the end game still introduces progressively harder content. I mean, when you're going through the story, eventually there are some dungeons and fights that people have been wiping on and people have been having hard times completing. I know that for a fact. I do have a lot of friends who are trying the game for the first time, and they like to tell me their duty finder explorations and things like that. And I know that the end game itself that I've been taking part of does, in fact, begin to test the limits of what your characters are capable of and what the game is capable of at some points. Just, it does get a lot harder. And I can honestly see Yoshi-P being pretty close in his estimate, about less than 100 people beating all 5 turns of the Binding Coils in the next 2 months. I still think more than 100 people, but I think it's
right around there.
It's a good estimate. I think it'll be more. It'll be like 300 or 400 realistically. Not less than 100.
That's a really, really tiny number.
Yeah.
Bern, how about you? You've been talking about some of the dungeons and stuff. They're starting to get harder and harder as well, right?
Yeah, I mean the first few dungeons, level 15-ish, Tamtara, Deepcroft, Sastasha, things like that. They're very easy on purpose and on design. you start like Mr. Happy was talking about. Queue up, and it doesn't matter. I've played a lot of MMOs. I love PvE. Generally pretty good at it and leading raids. Queue up with Duty Finder and get 3 people that are just kind of casual players and run Sunken Temple of Karn. Have fun. First boss is gonna tie you up for a while. It's just all of a sudden you hit Hoke Manor, which introduces a mechanic or two on 1 or 2 of the bosses. You immediately jump into Brayflocks and then jump into Sunken Temple, and it's like all of a sudden that's over. We gave you the introduction. We've shown you how mechanics are going to work. Now we're going to start throwing 4, 5, and 6 mechanics at you. I love it. It's challenging. It's nice learning these. Stone Vigil is kicking my ass right now, the final boss, getting a party that can dodge all the things that they need to dodge. I'm having a blast with it. I have one gripe, and I got to get it out of the way here. It's one of those things that probably would have been tweaked by now had the server issues not been happening. The telegraphing, particularly in instances, the client-server relationship is on a little bit of a different time frame there, and you will swear that you are well out of the range of some attack and get nailed by it. Because the server still has you
latency
in there. So there's, I mean, that's stuff that will be tweaked and probably would have been, but it's aggravating to see right now. So get the servers fixed and then get that out of there because it's annoying the hell out of me. But other than that, loving it. Loving the dungeons.
What about the story missions? Now that you're a black mage, how they faring up, like what, like level 42-ish?
Sweet. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. They are getting harder too. They are getting harder too. Love it. Difficulty, great. The echo really needs to be optional. And if you don't know what the echo is if you die in one of those story instance-based missions for your particular story leveling up, when you come back and do it, you will get a buff called the echo that buffs up your HP and it buffs up your damage output to kind of assist you in moving the story along. And it will get progressively bigger and bigger the more times you die. That really should have been optional. Because, and the latest story quest that I did was the perfect example. The first time I did it, I died within seconds of what would have been the end. And so I formulated like this little strategy, walked in, saw the echo and the text pop up.
And just destroyed it.
And my strategy didn't matter anymore.
It didn't matter. You just burned through it and you're done. Yeah, that would be a good point that some players would actually opt out.
Make it optional, that's all.
Good point, good point. Next up here, this is actually really interesting. It actually seems that Square Enix can actually change their mind in listening to player feedback. Amazing. So we very briefly mentioned on last week's show that Square Enix was being pretty protective of their copyright with Final Fantasy XIV. I think it's a little bit crazy. But
just a little bit.
Yes, we really didn't get too much into this because we didn't really know too much more at the time. But so the old materials usage agreement was pretty strict. So what we're talking about here is like what you can and can't do with the footage and make videos and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Content makers like us and Mr. P here were absolutely freaking out trying to figure out like what was happening here. We weren't all that thrilled, right?
No.
Mr. P was not happy whatsoever. You had a whole video on the topic actually.
Yeah, but since they brought the new material usage up, I took that video. There's no point in leaving that video up once they fixed it. It's misleading.
We like skimmed over this so badly last week because we were like afraid we couldn't even talk about this without putting up copyright warnings left and right.
Yeah,
it was rough.
Well, good news. Square Enix listened to everybody and changed their policy totally. Don't get us wrong. I mean, it still means companies have a valid claim to protect their content and their IP.
Yeah.
It's definitely always going to slant in their favor when it comes to their IP. And that's across the board, and we can kind of expect that from everything. But, it still looks as if, we're sort of seeing the different part of Square Enix. I mean, now people can create videos, put them on YouTube, you can monetize them, all that good stuff. You should definitely go check it out and read it if you're interested in it, but it looks like at this point, it's pretty much in line with what almost every other company out there does, where they have the ability to nuke anything at any given time, yes, but they're really giving you the leeway to kind of make content. So that's really good. I mean, everybody's
nice to see them change.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time where I was literally scared that it's Square Enix. They are not going to change. It doesn't matter if they at some point say, you know what, maybe we should have done it differently. It's Square Enix. They're going to acknowledge that behind the scenes, but it's going to stay the same. I'm really happy to see them kind of. And Yoshi-P said, what his exact words on it were something like, "We did a complete turnaround. We did a complete turnaround to acknowledge. Yep, forget it. We screwed up. Here we go. Let's do it the right way."
Kudos to them. Kudos to them.
Yeah.
So shows will keep going. Mr. Happy keep making videos, and we're all good. So see how it goes. All right, I want to talk about Square Enix crew over at PAX, but first I want to tell you guys about Audible. I want to hook you guys up with a free 30-day trial and a free audio book. Have you guys checked out Audible yet? It's audio books on your iOS device, on your Android device. You download the app, you put it on your phone, and you start listening today. Hang on, I'm going to pull this up because I'm still listening to this amazing, awesome book. It's amazing and awesome.
You listen to it while you're driving your Bugatti?
Yes.
Listen, she said, glancing at her boots. I apologize for calling you a low-level wimpizoid. That was not cool. I insulted you. It's okay. You were right, actually. I'm only 10th level. Regardless, you're a fellow gunter, and a clever one too, or you wouldn't be standing here. So, I want you to know that I respect you and acknowledge your skills. And I apologize for the trash talk. Apology accepted. No worries. Cool. She looked relieved. Her avatar's facial expressions were extremely realistic, which usually meant they were synced to those of their operator instead of controlled by software. She must have been using an expensive rig. I was just a little freaked to find you here, she said. I mean, I knew someone would find this place eventually, just not this quickly. I've had this tomb all to myself for a while now. How long? I asked, not really expecting her to say. She hesitated, then began to ramble. 3 weeks, she said, exasperated. I've been coming here for 3 freaking weeks, trying to beat that stupid lich at that asinine game, and his AI is ridiculous. I mean, you know, I'd never even played Joust before this, and now it's driving me out of my gourd. I swear, I was this close to beating his ass a few days ago, but then she raked her fingers through her hair in frustration. Ah! I can't sleep. I can't eat. My grades are going down the tubes.
All right. I can just keep listening to this. I
was waiting for you to finish the whole book.
I know. I'm ready to keep going here. But that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, narrated by Will Wheaton. Amazing book. If you guys are watching chat room on the live stream, I was playing that. The chat room just blew up, and everybody's just like, "Oh my god, this is the best book ever! It's amazing!" I'm telling you, gamers, MMO players especially, love this book. You will love this book. Go on over, head over to audible.com, make a free account. You'll get to use Audible absolutely free for 30 days, and you're going to get a free audiobook. All you got to do is go use the URL audible.com/gamebreaker. I highly recommend Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. All right, next up, A Realm Reborn was at PAX this week, this past weekend. So was Yoshi-P. He was there. He sat down with the Massively crew. To give credit, this interview was written up by Jeff Rehard and covers quite a bit of this stuff over there. I want to hit on a few of the key points here. Yoshi-P was asked about quest tracking from beta and if we'll see it put back in. What's all this about? Do you want the old quest tracker back in there?
Yeah,
just a bit.
Definitely want that back. I mean, that thing gets crowded so quickly on the right-hand side of my screen. I would just love to turn all of those quests off and just have it just nowhere on my screen. And leveling up too, sometimes there's quests there that you want to see, and sometimes there's quests there that you don't want to see. I still have a quest from level 25 I haven't dropped, and I have talked to one of the 4 guys. Just let me turn that off and forget about it for a while, please.
I mean, he did say that this was hopefully coming back soon, right?
Yes, that was hopefully coming soon. So I don't know when, but it definitely needs to. I'm a 42 black mage, and I'm still looking at my like level 5 carpentry quests that I did for like 10 minutes one day, and then went back to black mage. I can't get them out of my tracker without abandoning them, which I don't want to do.
Pia, what are your thoughts on this? He talked about the topic of cameos happening from other Final Fantasy titles. Obviously, Yoshi, just bringing in other characters. We all know about the lightning. And Yoshi-P stood by his old answer of basically saying that appearances have to make sense to actually happen. But he did mention Gilgamesh possibly appearing as not just a one-time fate in the game, but actually maybe a whole quest line or a multiple patch deal or something much longer. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, what's the deal with Gilgamesh?
Well, Gilgamesh is a character in Final Fantasy who's actually the same character throughout the entire series. He's actually capable of going through dimensions, and that's his whole thing. And in other Final Fantasies, it's pretty common for Gilgamesh to appear in a multiple quest line, sort of. You'll run into him at one point in the story, and maybe you'll run into him again, and then again, and he'll get progressively harder with different mechanics. And I know 5 and 12 are two ones where he makes multiple ridiculously hilarious appearances. But the point is, he is capable of interdimensional travel, so he belongs in Final Fantasy XIV, if you ask me. He's a perfect candidate. He doesn't break any rules.
Makes sense.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the lightning?
That, on the other hand, I think is a stretch. She can travel through time. That's not the same as traveling between dimensions. I mean, you could argue in some way that it is. But I think that's really just a nod to them putting in the Makote costume for Lightning in Lightning Returns. I think it's really focused on that, and I'm going to have to see how they
implement it, yeah.
Because that seems like a stretch.
All right, and of course, an interview would not be the same if they did not mention jobs. Same answer as usual. We're looking into it kind of thing. But check this out. Yoshi-P did say that we're likely to see more classes that branch out into multiple jobs like Arcanist does with Summoner and Scholar. Are you a fan of this, Mr. Byrne?
Yes, I am. But before we go any further, can we have just a moment, Mr. Gannon? I'm being informed by chat that yes, the servers have in fact been taken down.
Oh!
The maintenance has begun.
It has begun.
The 10-hour clock is now on.
All right, 10-hour show. Here we go.
If there's any extensions or faster bring-up times, of course, we'll have them on xivnation.com. But I am indeed a big fan of jobs that branch into multiple classes.
Other way around.
Other way around.
You're too excited, I think.
I am. Servers are down. I'm geeked.
That's all I can play due to YouTube copyright issues. Sorry, that's about it.
That was a moment.
That was a moment. I think I can get that through, but that's about all we can possibly get through for the servers. All right, here's hoping the servers come back and we get to all play. Where were we? Oh, you are
There's
a fan.
just something nice about a 2-for-1, right? You level Arcanist, and then boom, all of a sudden you got Summoner and you got Scholar. I'd like to be able to do that with other classes, and they're going to have to if some of the jobs that everybody wants to be in the game and what Yoshi-P wants to put in the game, they're going to have to start doubling up some of these classes.
Check this out, though. This is even crazy. Take that a step further. Yoshi-P said that we could see things like jobs combining to make new jobs. Jobception.
Oh, yeah.
You like a job inside your job.
This, I was big on this, especially because of the one job he used as an example here. It's the one job anyone who played Final Fantasy XI wanted. It's the one everyone was hoping to see in 14. It's Red Mage, coming from White Mage and Black Mage. I still don't know how they do it. I'd imagine that you would just get another job tab. You'd be able to access all 10 abilities from the jobs below you. But I feel like when you do that to that degree, maybe requiring Black Mage and White Mage would be good, but not combining the job abilities. Because if you give a Red Mage Benediction and And if you give them the tools that White Mage and Black Mage have, then they're useless now. I'd rather they just be requirements to unlock new jobs.
Can you imagine, though, that, like, 2 years down the road with all these job-on-job combinations, somebody new to the game starts playing, and they're like, oh, dude, I want to be a red mage. Hey, Mike, what do I need to be a red mage? Okay, well, first you need to level up Conjurer, and then level up the corresponding subclass there. Get Arcanist to 15. That'll get you White Mage. Then what you need to do is go play Thaumaturge to 30, get that there, and then put Archer at 15. That'll give you Black Mage. Now you'll have both of those jobs, and you need to level and do this requirement to mesh them into Red Mage.
That would be awesome.
What do you mean you don't want to play anymore? It's fun. You'll love it.
Great.
Trust me.
It's great. No, I think I actually hope they go down that road. You don't?
Oh no, I'd love it. You know,
make some classes just super hard to get. I'll never see them, but that's okay. That's totally okay.
I love Final Fantasy XI, where you needed to do days worth of quests to just open a job, and then you needed to start leveling it from 1 to 75. Let's whip out the spreadsheets.
Give me the bear job from Final Fantasy V, where you can equip anything you want, but it's just not as good as everything else. We have the systems in place for that already. Just make it happen. A bear job. Make it happen.
Bear job. All right, in this interview, they also talked about how the dev team is currently looking at an implementing a click-to-travel system for teleporting between Aetherites rather than having you keep opening your map to figure out where to teleport is. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes.
My heart sped up when you said that.
Yes, thank you. Fix, please, now. Okay. And to wrap up the piece, Yoshi-P talked about the breakdown for Final Fantasy XIV users in a few countries and estimates that here in the U.S., 70% of the people playing 14 are on the PC. 70%. But, the PS4 launch could impose change those numbers, impact those numbers quite drastically, I think, when that comes out. So I definitely think, I don't know, is it lower or higher than you thought? I kind of feel like that kind of feels right. I think
it's a little low to me.
Really? I think if you would have asked me before launch, I think I would have said 70 to 80%, I think is what I would have said.
I would have probably put it upwards of 80 to 85-ish being PC and then 15-ish being on. And that's just, again, probably coming from Final Fantasy XI. But I would have thought this number would have been a bit higher. I'm surprised by how low it is, and I think it's really going to go a lot lower with PS4. Which has some impressive capabilities, or should, with this software.
All right, let's do some viewer questions before we get out of here. If you guys have questions for the XIV crew, make sure to send them over to submit@gamebreaker.tv. That's where you can send them. I guess we should get an XIV Nation email address for that as well. Do we have one? Do we have a submit? We have so many email addresses, I'm not really sure. So I'll have to check into that. For now, send them to submit@gamebreaker.tv. We'll get an xivnation.com email address set up shortly for that. But if you have a question, send it over there. Video questions. We love the video questions. Record yourself up on the YouTubes and email us the link, and we will show it on the show. So first up this week, Mike Mack asks, do you think World Transfer should be a paid service or free? What do you think, P?
In light of recent issues, free the first time.
One for free.
One for free because of all the, what we were talking about earlier. And paid the rest of the time. I think it's just the standard for them to do paid. I mean, yeah, there's nothing more to say. Everyone else does it. Why not? They're going to probably do it that way.
What do you think, Byrne?
Yeah, I don't begrudge them the capability to make money, but first one should be free in light of everything. Yep. Totally agree.
I'm going to agree with it all. Next up, Randy Doan has a question about the errors that we, hope get nuked right now while the downtime is going. He says, do you believe that the login errors, 1017 and 90K, will have a lasting effect on a Realm Reborn sales due to bad press from gaming news sites? What do you think there, Byrne?
I'm actually interested in what you have to say about this. You're kind of the marketing guy. I think short term, yes. I mean, there's definitely going to be a little bit of blowback in the short term sales here. Long term, I think once these issues are resolved, anybody that's really interested in playing the game is still going to give it a shot. I think it's going to hurt the short term more than the long term.
It really, this next 10 hours is really telling.
It's critical.
It's critical.
It really is. They can't screw this up.
This is critical because tomorrow morning we will be writing something about this, and it's going either way here of what the next barrage of press. So you're either going to see every site out there be like, they said it would be fixed, and no one can log in, and everything is still broken, or it's going to be like breath of fresh air. And we're all good. The good news of this is that the game is actually really good, and it's getting great positive responses when people can play. So I think the game can weather this storm, obviously, and possibly not be crippled by what's happening right now. But tomorrow is critical, because tomorrow is going to be the point where I think people who can't play right now are still holding on to that hope to play. But if they hear after tomorrow that they can't play, or even people who can't buy it right now, right? Like people can't buy the game right now.
Speaking about short-term impact.
So after tomorrow, if you hear that there's more issues and people are still having a lot of trouble, I could see a substantial number of people just completely walking away.
Yeah. But don't listen to things you see at 6:30 in the morning Eastern time. The servers just came up. I already told you there's going to be restrictions.
Yes.
If you see an email at noon on or a post at noon or 1 on XIV Nation written by me that says it's still all blown to hell, then be upset. But at 6 in the morning, let it go.
What do you think, P? What's your thoughts on this?
I think that I am going to record a video of me trying to log in at noon, and we'll get a real reaction out of it. Because if it works, I'll be relieved. If it doesn't work, you may see a Mr. Not So Happy.
Oh!
Mr. Not So Happy.
Oh, I'm going to go buy that URL right now. I learned from Mr. Gannon. You don't let a good URL go to waste.
Vanium on Twitter wants to know, he says, do you think Square Enix will ever make a raid finder like Blizzard made for World of Warcraft?
I think as content gets sort of phased out, it'll get added to the duty finder. It might still be max level content, but they might have so much introduced that they add more endgame things. So sort of a raid finder. Because you can already do the hard mode primals with the duty finder. I don't recommend doing it with the duty finder. I don't go do Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan with the duty finder until it's easier to get higher level gear. But I do think that raids that weren't in the duty finder will eventually be phased into the duty finder. But I don't think they're going to do like a difficulty just for raiders. Like raid finding. Sort of.
What do you think, Burns? Are you looking for do you think you need a raid finder? No?
No. I don't want a raid finder. I don't know. I stopped playing WoW right around that time, and it wasn't the raid finder that did it. I just kind of got bored with the title. But I'm not a fan of that whole thing. Yes, it's convenient, but there's other sacrifices you have to make for the convenience that I don't want to make and didn't want to make in World of Warcraft, definitely don't want to make in Final Fantasy XIV. No, keep your raid finder.
Should have brought this up earlier. I forgot. All the red.
Better all be green in 10 hours or so.
A few short hours. All right, last up, a video question from Hunter. Let's see what Hunter's got to say.
Hey guys, I've been a long-time fan of Game Breaker. I've enjoyed watching your videos and live streams since around Legendary 30, episode 30, so a long while. But my questions for you guys on Final Fantasy is if you could add anything from any one of the Final Fantasy installments to XIV, what would it be? Like characters, monsters? I mean, I know they do a lot of already from their own lore, but just like specific to other games, like because I know Lightning's going to be in it. That's where this question comes from. And then my second question is, what are your like predictions for Final Fantasy or XIV? Like, what do you see as the future for it? Like, what could they add to the game to make it better that they haven't already said that they're going to add? Like, I know PvP, but just anything at all. What do you think could potentially be put into the game later on?
All right, some good questions,
guys.
All right, so first question, Mr. Byrne. If you could add anything from a previous Final Fantasy title into the game, what would you add?
I'm going to take skill chains for 400, Mr. Gannon.
Going for skill
I want
chains.
skill change. Yeah, I want skill chains.
Pete, what would your thing be? What would you want to add?
This is a tough one because there's a lot of things that are already there subtly that I did want to see. It's between two things, and I'll say them both, even though I have to pick one. One of them is more for hilarity purposes, though. The first one is Blitzball from Final Fantasy X.
Oh, get the hell out of here! Get the hell out of here!
Somebody's saying Triple Triad, too, and that's another really good one. I really do like Triple Triad.
I'm okay with Triple Triad. You keep your Blitzball.
The second one, and Mr. Byrne, you are going to get a good laugh out of this one, is Absolute Virtue from Final Fantasy XI.
Yes. Absolutely.
As a
yes.
fate. As
yes.
a fate.
As a 6-hour fate that spawns once every 6 weeks. Let's make it absurd. Let's just put all kinds of absurdity on it.
Or Pandemonium Warden. You could do either or, and I'll be content.
All right, follow-up question. What are your predictions for the future of the game title as far as like possible additions go to make the game better at a later date, besides the stuff that we know? P, any predictions of what we're going to see?
It's because I know so much of what they are adding, it's on the spot hard to come up with something that I would definitely like to see. Like, we've heard about the Golden Saucer from Final Fantasy VII. We've heard about skirmish battles a long time ago that we haven't heard. I think skirmish battles really is the one thing I want to see. Just the way that they set it, hitting you up against classic Final Fantasy creatures. Again, that makes sense. And just making it something just for the real hardcore Final Fantasy fans. On top of just being more content, it just, that is a good idea in itself. Give us the weapons from the old Final Fantasies. Give us some more of the primals that aren't part of the main story. Give us things from Final Fantasy 12, 11, 13 that aren't specific to them, but they're good implementations of things that are consistent throughout the Final Fantasy series. A jumbo cactuar too. I want a giant cactuar.
Giant cactuar. Yeah. Predictions, Mr. Byrne.
I'm gonna go with I already said that. I'm gonna go with I want to be able to mount my chocobo when I have him out as a combat buddy without having to dismiss him, and not to be kicked from the duty finder I forgot I queued up for by summoning my chocobo.
Predictions by Michael Byrne. All right, Michael Byrne, you can follow him on the Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1. And of course, see him right here every single week on XIV Reborn, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. So go over to xivnation.com where he's writing a bunch of stuff over there on Final Fantasy XIV. Michael Poveromo, follow him on Twitter at MrHappy1227. And of course, go over to his YouTube channel, and you can check out a lot of his videos on XIV.com, at xivnation.com as well. Always a pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Gary Gannon. Follow Gamebreaker TV, Gamebreaker TV, XIV Nation, XIV Nation. And we'll be back next week for some more XIV Reborn. We do the show live every Tuesday at 4 PDT. So come on over for the live show. Lots of fun. And that's all I'm going to say.
We're joining you.